At the India Today Conclave East, we've heard from the Chief Minister of the state, Mamata Banerjee. We've heard from the BJP Home Minister, Amit Shah. But I am very, very, very curious to know what the man who's on our stage right now has to say about the role that the left front and the CPIM will play in the forthcoming assembly election in West Bengal. Because after all, Mr. Yechuri, the CPIM-led government ran West Bengal for 3.5 decades. And now as people watch you here at the India Today conclave, they wonder what's left of the left. How do you as party general secretary view the role of the CPIM in particular and the left front in general in this assembly election?
Well, all I can say right now is that people who are watching us and who have watched us for 3.5 decades must actually be hoping for that return. They want those days to return when you have. They would want those days to return because you never had this sort of a mayhem that you're seeing today that's spread all over. So what is left of the left is the future. That is
How
the
is
left.
that? I want to talk about whether you believe that the left has a tangible, actionable roadmap for recovery and a strategy to come back to power.
Of course we have.
What is that?
Of course we have. You look at the state of affairs in Bengal today, apart from the country, it's part of the country. But in Bengal, you have unemployment rising, galloping. You have the youth absolutely, wondering where to go, what to do, and most of them are going outside the state, both for jobs and for education. You have your agriculture in doldrums. You have the state finances in absolute doldrums. This is the highest debt ever that's happened. Now, all this, if it has to be changed, you require a concrete game plan. And that concrete game plan is Bengal used to be the state with the highest amount of small savings. Highest amount. Now that is plummeted. Why? Because there's nothing in the hands of the people to save. Now, if these things have to be changed, you require an infrastructural development. For that, resources will have to be mobilized. And that resource mobilization will have to be done, and resources used for the development of the state and the people. That concrete roadmap is there, is there with us. It is being told to the people, and a large number of people are accepting it. Otherwise, how do you explain this youth yesterday? There's massive turnout, much beyond what we had anticipated.
But the reality is, when you formed the government, you had 36-37% of the vote share. For example, in 2001, you had 36.59% of the vote share, 2006, 37.13. In the Lok Sabha elections of 2019, you came down to 6.28% of the vote share. That's 1/6 of where you used to be.
It's a Lok Sabha election.
No, take the last assembly. Even in the last assembly, you were down to 20%.
Yeah. We were down 20%, there's no doubt about it, because the question is that of an alternative. Are you going to give an alternative? Or do you want people to elect you only for your representation in the assembly? That alternative was not able to be projected in the last elections. Now, with this understanding that has come about for seat sharing with the Congress and with larger other parties, not only the left front, but also with the non-left front party, this is a much credible alternative for forming a government here, which people see, and that's why we given the call for a secular democratic alternative.
But the reality, political reality is that the 2021 assembly election is being seen as a direct battle between the Trinamool Congress and the BJP, with the left, the Congress and all their allies just really being players in the fringes and the margins.
But remember, the left and the Congress were not in that sense together on the basis of any firm understanding on the seats. It was a loose sort of a combination. And secondly, that is the projection. The entire media, included, apart from the two principal parties, project a binary. They think it is either this or that. And why is it in the parliament elections the BJP gained? That's because of the very high degree of anti-incumbency that the Trinamool government suffers from. In fact, that anti-incumbency is deepened further. And therefore, our objective is to defeat the BJP. If you have to defeat the BJP, politics is not arithmetic. Many people say that why don't all of you get together to defeat the BJP? But the reason why the BJP gained in the last Lok Sabha election is because of this anti-incumbency vote. It could poll and pull. And that anti-incumbency vote, if everybody is together, BJP is winning is a sure shot. No, that is why if you want to defeat the BJP, you have to give a credible alternative, which also means an alternative against the Trinamool Congress.
So you are hoping that the CPIM-led front will rise from the 6% you got in the Lok Sabha elections, and
Of
it's
course.
only likely that you will. Whose vote, sir, do you see yourself pull? This left front alternative, do you think you're pulling votes away from the BJP, which went to them because of Narendra Modi and the central government in 2019, or are you pulling votes away from the TMC?
No, you see, the vote, major part of the vote, apart from our traditional vote, major part of the vote that will come to us is the anti-incumbency vote against the TMC. And if it doesn't come to us, it will go to the BJP. So that's why, we will cut into also the vote of the BJP, of that vote which thought that BJP is the alternative to Trinamool.
Because we had Mamta Banerjee sitting exactly where you are right now, and when I asked her yesterday, you know, the sense that I got, and by speaking to Trinamool leaders also, is that they accuse the CPIM of being the B team of the BJP. That the theory in the left cadre now is, pehle Ram fir Vam, that if the left is to come back, because Mamta Banerjee's party is seen as a one-person party, that if the BJP can come to power now, then the left front has a better chance for the next election, that your main aim is the 2026 assembly election, not this assembly election.
This is fanciful thinking by somebody who has to be told that the boot is on the other foot. Who was the one that brought the BJP into Bengal? Who is the one that was a cabinet minister in a BJP government? Who is the one that went into coalition with the BJP and gave them seats in Bengal? This is who? It is Trinamool Congress and Madam. And today, why is it with the ease with which the Trinamool MPs and MLAs are moving towards the BJP? Today it happened again. A very prominent person in the parliament who's been there with us for a long, long, long time as a colleague in the parliament.
Why do you think it's happening?
It's happening because the anti-incumbency, and two, the BJP is successful in doing it. Why do you think they formed the government in Karnataka? Why do you think they formed the government in Madhya Pradesh? And that is why the general saying nowadays is that, whoever may win the election, the government will be formed by the BJP. that is what is coming down to. So the question is, who is the B team of the BJP? And that the people of Bengal know very clearly who is the B team. And let me tell you one thing. Maybe I'm just going a little too far. I'm just being a little loud-mouthed. But in case there's a hung assembly, what the Trinamool will do, I think people of Bengal are very clear that in order to be the chief minister, they may even go with the BJP.
As the CPIM General Secretary, you are saying from the stage of the India Today conclave that in the event of a hung assembly, you think Mamta Banerjee will tie up with JP Nadda?
Possibility.
Why do you say that?
Because of her track record. She never hesitated to tie up with the BJP.
She's
anytime.
fighting with them.
That's fine. But that is why, in case there's a sort of a hung assembly, she never hesitated to go with them. She fought them and then went with them. She resigned from the Union Cabinet, then went and rejoined after Gujarat, that communal genocide that took place there. So, her consistency is complete lack of consistency. So, she is likely to do it. That's why I said there's a possibility.
In this assembly election, your left parties have a tie-up with the Congress. There's been some talk publicly of a tie-up with the newly formed Indian Secular Front of Furfura Sharif Abbas Siddiqui. How do you see the ISF also come on board this front that you formed?
Well, I think these are matters that they are discussing at the state level. Honestly,
What's your view?
honestly, we want the unity of all the secular democratic people. The alternative we are talking of is a secular democratic alternative, left secular democratic alternative. Now, if that is the case, all secular people are people we would welcome. But the bottom line is secular.
How does this tie up with the Congress play out in a time span when at the same time concurrently you are having an assembly election in Kerala where the CPIM and the Congress are arch enemies?
Absolutely.
So that's just, you guys look very confused, sir.
No, not at all. You just remember 2004, 61 MPs of the left, 57 of them reached the parliament defeating the Congress. But we supported the Manmohan Singh government. So what is confusing about it? There's nothing confusing about the fact that India should be rid of blatantly communal politics, using extremely fascistic methods, spreading hatred, violence. This is something the country cannot afford. No part of the country can afford.
But we are here in Kolkata, which is why you're saying what you are. If we were to, and we will be doing an India Today conclave in Kerala, and if we were to call you over there, you know, you'll be bowling from the other side of the pitch.
No,
so right hand batting bhi karni hai, left hand
what
batting bhi
what
karni
is
hai.
your objective again?
No, so if I call you to Kerala and we have a conversation there you will tell us everything that's wrong with the Congress party.
You see, Rahul, your problem is that you're looking at the players and not at the match.
Okay.
Bowling from the opposite. I want to win the match. I want India to win the match. So which is the better force? That is very clear. The bottom line is that they have to be secular democratic. Beyond that, which is the better alternative? And in Kerala, it's not now, it's been going on for the last 40 years. For 35 years, like you said, we fought the Congress in Bengal and then formed the left-front government, which continued for 3.5 decades. So that, those on issues of policies, what we remember, we still have very solid differences with Congress. But right now, what is the objective before the country and the people? Defeat this communal combination, which is not only communal, which is very dangerous, undermining India's constitution, hatred, violence, everything else that follows, and completely degenerating politics.
Let's spend a moment, sir, talking about what's playing out at national politics, because the left is being accused of being rigid in the negotiations with the government through the left unions when it comes to the issue of the new farm laws, because a lot of the original leadership before 26th of January was with Punjab-based left unions who owed their allegiance to a very strong leftist kind of ideology. How do you respond to this charge that you've got these left-leaning union leaders because of their political motives who are not allowing these laws to go through?
Well, you have right-leaning union leaders also. They also don't want these laws. They won't allow these laws to go. So it's not a question of left and right. What is in the interests of Indian agriculture, Indian farmer? And as far as we are concerned, CPIM, we had opposed these ordinances even before the laws came. We opposed them as ordinances in the parliament. And even before this agitation began, there was, for 2 years, if you remember, before the 2019 elections, there were huge Kisan protests all over. You had that long march to Bombay, to Mumbai from Nasik. I mean, all this was going on. So it is not as though that this has suddenly come because of the farm laws. The discontent in Indian agriculture with our farmers has been growing over a period of the last 4 or 5 years very intensely. So what you're seeing in this Kisan agitation is actually a reflection of all that. And secondly, you see, we are not allowing these laws to be passed because these are completely disastrous for our farmers and Indian agriculture. Why? You hand over our agriculture, our lands, our produce to the corporates, both foreign and Indian. And the net result would be, I mean, the food insecurity. It will lead to hoarding and very high prices for the consumers. And every country in the world that implemented these sort of laws, you can see the impact of that. What I'm saying is exactly turning out to be true. So it's in interest of the country. And if there's anybody who's obstinate or obdurate, it is our Prime Minister and the BJP government at the center. What are the farmers asking? Repeal these laws, discuss agri reforms with us, with your corporate friends, with all the stakeholders, then formulate new proposals, bring them to the parliament, discuss them through the parliamentary committees, and then enact them. What is the problem? If the Prime Minister announces, I'll keep it on hold for 18 months, what is the problem in accepting this? And why are we not accepting keeping on hold? No law can be kept on hold. Once it's notified in the Gazette, a law is a law. You can't say that I'm keeping it on hold. Anybody can invoke it. So either it has to be repealed or an ordinance brought saying that this is on hold. So do that, which is as good as repeal.
So
No.
you've seen so many elections in the state of West Bengal. How is this election different from past elections that your party has won, fought, lost some, won some? How is this election different?
This election is different in the sense that it is being based on very intense communal polarization. And this, let me warn you and warn the people, is very, very dangerous for Bengal. You see, people often forget. Mahatma Gandhi was not there at the Red Fort when the tricolor was being unfurled on the 15th of August 1947. He was on an indefinite hunger strike in this city. He wanted to go to Noakhali. He was not allowed to go. He went actually, but then from both sides there was a lot of tension. He returned to Calcutta, sat on the hunger strike. And he was on a hunger strike when India became independent because that was the horrendous. Noakhali riots in history is one of the most horrendous communal conflagrations that took place during the time of the partition or any time, any other time. So that background is there, that historical legacy is there in Bengal. Now if you try to stoke that and try to revive it, it can mean nothing else but a complete disaster. And that is the difference in this election. This is what is being attempted. You saw the Home Minister's speech, this thing, trying to woo the Rajbanshis, trying to woo the Matuas, come to Calcutta and say CIA is not going to be implemented now. CAA, and then go there in order to woo the Matuas, say that CAA will be implemented the moment vaccination is over. Now, this sort of politicking, I mean, to get some votes or buying up MLAs and MPs, I mean, this is not the agenda for prosperity and for people to improve their lives and live in a happy, prosperous manner. That is the difference in this election. That is why they have to be defeated. And which best way to defeat them is actually that you will have to also in the process defeat the TMC, otherwise the danger that they will win will arise. That is the difference this time.
Realistically speaking, Mr. Yechury, how many seats do you think the left front can end up with in this election? Will it be fair for me to say that your best hope is that there be a hung assembly after the results come out, and in which case, between the BJP and the Trinamool, who are you more likely to support, and which possibly means that since the BJP is completely ruled out, you will be in bed then with the Trinamool?
No, that question doesn't arise. Who will be chosen is the Trinamool will have to answer. It is they who have to answer in case there is a hung assembly. The question is posed to a wrong person in a wrong party. It is they who will have to do the answering. And secondly, it's not that we just want to increase the numbers. We are actually seriously in the campaign, and if you look at it, 3 days ago the women, yesterday the youth and students, earlier the Kisans, everybody is on a war path in protest. It's a different matter. It's not part of the media narrative. It won't be. I mean, showing us doesn't increase your TRPs.
So you are here, you are live on the India Today network at this time across our platform. So therefore, we are very keen on listening to what the left has to say. But are you actually serious when you say you think that you have a chance of forming the government, or is this just one of those things which you say because it's the right thing to say and you can't concede defeat before the elections
Any
happen?
political party fights elections in order to form a government. Otherwise, why are we fighting elections? So we fight elections in order to form a government, in order to implement the policies which we think are in the best interest of the country and the people. So that is a given in politics.
Are you thinking at a more philosophical level about how to reinterpret Marx in Modi's India? Like, what is the future of the left? How do you hope to rebuild? Because it seems on the outside that the left is a diminishing political idea and a diminishing ideological idea.
Then why is it that the charge comes from the Prime Minister himself downwards to everybody, which you also repeated here? The left is preventing solution to the farmers' agitation. The left is the main cause for this, these sort of issues. Why is the left a cause if we are a marginal, minimal force? Our strength lies there on the streets, in the fields, in the factories. And that is the force that every one of them is actually scared of. And that is what is rising now. The trade unions have gone on a general strike, all India. The bank unions have announced now a two-day strike against bank privatization. And this loot of the country taking place with the privatization of the public sector. There are big working class actions that are going on. Now, the strength, unfortunately, particularly of a left party or a communist party, cannot be measured only by the electoral verdict. That's important. Electoral performance. That's important, no doubt. I'm not discounting that. But there's another yardstick. That is the strength of the people's movements that is in a position to influence the national agenda. And that is where we are not a diminishing, but in fact a rising force.
At the national level, as one of the key political opponents of the BJP, how do you see the Indian opposition rise against the might of the BJP?
It must, according to us, it must be more coordinated and united. It must pull up its socks, come together, ensure there's no need for having any united front or an adjustment or a united party to be formed, etc. But to ensure that these parties work together in order to achieve this objective. And much more has to be done in that direction.
Why is it taking so much time, and why is more tangible action not visible?
Well, it's a combination of factors, honestly. One, of course, is also rank political opportunism by parties. I mean, that is obviously there by some parties, I mean, not all. And then, of course, there are also methods and manner in which parties are browbeaten into what you call keeping quiet or supporting the BJP. You've seen how the CBI and the ED work nowadays. You've seen how the courts are working nowadays. So any one of these political leaders, you open their cupboards, you'll find some skeletons. So each one of them has been, I mean, this has been used, and that is, I mean, this is the crassest form of politics that you can see today. By all means, we have been in the forefront always, we will be to fight against political corruption. But using that as an act of intimidation to browbeat political opposition into submission, which is what is happening to many parties. No, that is another factor. And then the third one is purely monetary. I mean, you've seen the huge sums that transfer and how that is happening, where that money comes from, that also people know. And the electoral bonds, the various methods, everything else people know. So this combination of these three factors, this is what is leading to a delay in this coming together. But when the people's movement rose, the parties that voted with the BJP on the farm laws in the parliament had to support the December 8 Bandh call given by the Farmers Union. I'm talking of Andhra, I'm talking of Telangana, and many other places, though they did not openly support, but they allowed it to happen, like in Odisha.
Why does the left struggle to attract talented youth to its ideological fold in a modern more liberalized India? Is it that as globalization deepens, as people get educated in the times that they do with the advanced use of technologies, artificial intelligence, machine learning, that the left just seems like an idea that's been left behind? That-
The left is the idea that is the future is what the youth and students are feeling. That is why this attack on the universities. Why is JNU under attack? Why is Hyderabad University under attack? Why are all these universities, not minority universities? Premier universities ranked number 1 in the country, even under this government. Why are they under attack? That's precisely because you cannot defeat the ideas. You ensure that these ideas cannot be propagated, so destroy the institutions. Remember, the rise of such fascistic ideologies is always accompanied by a complete attack on reason. It's an assault on reason. It's an assault on rationality. Irrationality and unreason are essential ingredients for such an ideology to rise. And that is exactly what's happening. No one questions the supremacy of plastic surgery that created Ganesha in India, the Prime Minister says. But it gets away with it. That is unreason. That is irrationality. Karna is a stem cell baby. Or how did Draupadi produce 100 male children? So you had, what do you call, the artificial insemination. All sorts of things are floating around from the highest of quarters. Is that scientific rationality? Is that reason? So this assault on the universities is precisely the recognition of the growth and influence of the left ideas ideologically on the youngsters.
You haven't announced yet the exact seat share split between the Congress, the CPIM, and the other parties who are part of your alliance.
Yeah,
but when do you hope to do so?
Well, very soon. I think the talks are going on. They're continuing because the Congress chief is also the leader of the opposition in the Lok Sabha. So I think session is just ended. Not really ended. It's the broken. It's adjourned for the break. So I think now it should happen anytime. It should be finalized.
In the way that populist leaders on the right have emerged, even though Donald Trump got defeated recently, how do you view this in the Indian context? This idea that the populist leadership on the right is becoming more and more successful the world over.
It is a global phenomenon, and it naturally happens. Remember, the rise of fascism in Europe was during the fallout of the Great Depression of 1929. At times of intense economic crisis, a rightward political shift inevitably takes place because it's only through such a rightward shift can those who have power control to remain in power and strengthen their power. Whether it's Bolsonaro, whether it's Trump when he was there, now we'll have to wait and see, or take any other country. You'll have this sort of tendencies all over the world. That is the basic reason at the global level. In India, it is added also to another dimension, and that is the very conception of what is India. Remember, a big ideological battle took place during the freedom struggle. What should be the future of independent India? Will it be a secular democratic republic? Or will it be a Hindu Rashtra? People thought after the assassination of Mahatma Gandhi and the banning of the RSS, that battle had ended. That was a big mistake people made. Or now they are realizing. That assault continues. And what you are seeing today, the undermining of the Constitution, the attack on civil liberties, democratic rights, everything else is part of the unfolding of the transformation of a secular democratic India under Indian Constitution into their version of a rabidly intolerant, fascistic Hindutva Rashtra.
Mr. Yechury, we're out of time, but we're very delighted that you could come here, speak about what you believe is the role of the left front in the context of the Bengal elections. It was interesting to see what you said and also what you left unsaid. We'll see how these dialogues for seat sharing proceed from here, and whether you fight with the ISL on your side or on the outside with the AIMIM between them. So it will be interesting.
Yeah, that'll be worked out at the state level. But definitely one thing is there is today a very, very, very sharp and a big aggression, political aggression, not violent aggression, but a political aggression by Bengal's youth, by Bengal's women for a progressive change. And that is the left democratic secular.
And in this interview, you've spoken so much against the BJP. And I wonder, as I said, if and when we meet in Kerala, whether it's a different script and a different agenda.
I'll speak against BJP much more in Kerala because I know what is happening there. But speaking against BJP is universal. That is the given truth of the movement.
But Congress kahin dost, kahin dushman. That changes.
I'm sorry?
Congress?
Yeah.
Friends
Yeah,
somewhere,
absolutely.
enemies.
I mean,
frenemies. How do you describe it, sir?
No,
Frenemy.
In electoral politics, there are adversaries. There are no enemies. Enemies are those who want to destroy the system.
No, true, but that's for the BJP. I'm saying, how would you describe the Congress at this time? Is it a frenemy? Because it's not an adversary. In one place, it's your friend. In another place, it's an adversary.
It is an adversary in Kerala. It is an adversary.
In Bengal, it's your partner.
And it's sheet sharing here in Bengal. In Kerala, it plays in tandem with the BJP. And every agitation, you find the BJP and the Congress in Kerala, what they call the UDF, on the same page.
See, that's the point I was making. When we talk of Kerala, you'll start speaking differently, but we'll talk of Kerala another time.
No, again, I tell you, it's not election. I mean, politics is not only electoral adjustments. Politics is also about the alternative that you're offering. That is the most important thing in politics. Unfortunately, it's being reduced to this sort of a narrow definition.
We thank you for having taken out time and come all the way from Delhi to Kolkata. For this, there's a big protest happening outside. Yesterday, there was a left protest. So it's good to see, what's left of the left on the ground, on the street.
It'll happen again tomorrow. Watch.
Okay, so thank you so much
Welcome.
for joining us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr.
Thank you, India
sir.
Today,
Thank
for
you very
calling
much.
me.
Thank you so much.